Just when I thought I was leaving the cannibals behind for a little while, they're back again. This time with Papaya, love goddess of the cannibals. Also known as Caribbean Papaya, this is a 1978 Italian cannibal/sexploitation film, directed by Joe D'Amato, whose name you may recognise if you've seen my old Dead of Night reviews, because he directed Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals, as well as a bunch of other infamous titles. The film stars Sirpa Lane, who worked with Valerian Boracek on films like Immoral Tales and The Beast. We also get Maurice Pollitt, who was in Cat in the Brain, which we covered quite recently in my Hard Gore series of reviews. And we also get Melissa Chimente, who plays the titular Papaya. This is not a film that I'm familiar with at all, really. I hadn't heard of it until it was announced and then quickly released. So who knows? But judging by the title and the cover art alone, I'd hazard a guess that we're in for a little bit of smut this episode. Let's have a look.
Come on, Sarah, let's dance. And forget about
it. My name is Papaya.
Papaya? What a funny name.
And what's your name?
Me, Sarah.
Oh, what a funny name.
Our two leads for this film are Sarah, a reporter, and Vincent, who heads a nuclear power plant. They both meet on a Caribbean island and begin hanging out. They later meet Papaya, a native to the island, who lures them into a strange pagan ritual. You see, she has ulterior motives. It turns out that the nuclear power plant has sort of been destroying her home, so she with a bunch of rebels have been killing off the people who work there, and Vincent might just be next on the chopping block. But who cares about the plot, because the film sure as hell doesn't. This is a dull and meandering mess that completely forgets about its story to focus on TNA. At only 88 minutes, it really failed to truly grasp me at any point and just left me feeling like I'd wasted my time.
Standing out there, no traffic going by and the sun beating down, she might end up as a blob of melted fudge. But there are certain things you can't be expected to understand.
I'll tell you something you didn't know. Everybody's brain is the same color.
Was this as filthy as I thought it'd be? Weirdly, no, not really. Don't get me wrong, there is sex and nudity in this, and there's a fair bit, but there's not as much as I thought there'd be. It's strange, it doesn't really linger like a lot of these films usually do. It just sort of jumps about quite a lot and doesn't really stay with that side to it. Whether that's good or not, I don't really know, because unfortunately the alternative is just Sarah and Vincent wandering around a Caribbean island. Cannibalism. It's in the title. It's not really in the film though. There's a great cold opening where Papaya bites off a dude's knob. Now, I don't think she eats it though, I think she just removes it with her teeth, so I don't really think that counts. Then, during the ritual, a guy eats another dude's heart. And that's pretty much it for the cannibalism. Like, it doesn't really need to be called Goddess of the Cannibals, you know? Because there's not much cannibalism. There's not much gore either, really, unfortunately. It is sort of lacking in that area. The most stuff we get is a guy just sort of gutting these two dead pigs, which is pretty uninteresting, really. It's just a dude cutting some dead pigs up. Not great, not great. It's a strange mix as well, to be honest. It's sort of stilted softcore porn, and then Sarah and Vincent wandering around uninterested around a Caribbean island, and then pigs being gutted for far too long. What does this film want me to feel? I don't know, is that the point of the film? Here's something and then here's some juxtaposition. I don't know. If that is the case, I don't really feel like it gets it across very well. The film itself felt confused, almost like it were just a bunch of half-baked ideas just slapped together. The story just sort of stops About 15 minutes in, it just gives up and decides to just focus on Sarah and Papaya banging for a while. It doesn't do it in any sort of artistic way or anything like that. It's not a vague ending like a Broken Flowers or something like that, where it's building up to then just hard cut and it makes you feel something. Instead, it's just loose and it builds up these ideas, the environmentalism, the nuclear power plant, just to sort of scrap them because I guess it got too horny.
Don't try to be so nonchalant. You were frightened, admit it.
Oh, sure, I admit it. I was frightened. Absolutely frightened. Can a man be frightened? Okay, I was frightened.
The acting and dubbing is pretty lifeless and stilted, really. They never really emote. We get the odd funny line here and there, but it's far from being like entertaining or worth watching for terrible acting. The characters, they're just not really developed at all. They're quite content, just sort of emotionlessly wandering around from set piece to set piece or banging the nearest genitalia with a bored expression. I will say though that it is nicely shot. There's some great long shots of the island. The camera is quite dynamic and it does sort of inject a little bit of life into some of these quite dull scenes. All the sets seem pretty decent and fitting, and the costumes, there's some interesting ones, especially for the ritual side. It is competently put together. The soundtrack didn't really leave an impression on me in any way. I can't remember whether I liked it or not, to be honest. It was just sort of in the background. Inoffensive, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. So this version that I watched as well was the fully uncut version. There was a version released back in 2010 that was 85 minutes. I'm guessing actually that might be the Shameless DVD of this, but this one is fully uncut at 88 minutes. Lucky us.
Would you like a papaya?
No, thank you.
Okay, time for the print. The first thing that I noticed was that it is pretty grainy still. I don't know, it's a bit of an aesthetic, I guess. It does suit the sort of tone of the film, the grainy side to it. But it's way grainier than a lot of the Shameless stuff I've seen recently. I don't know, maybe the print was just that like badly looked after. There were a few issues here and there as well. A little glitch that I noticed towards the beginning and another one later on. Only a few though, nothing major. It was a little washed out looking too. I don't know if that was how it was intended to look, or again if the print was just sort of like badly looked after and just sort of faded over time. But it was noticeable because a lot of the Shameless stuff is usually quite vibrant and pops. This one, a little less so than normal. The audio was fine though, so that's alright. So, a bit of a mixed bag. It's far from unwatchable, don't get me wrong, and like it might be quite impressive how much it's been remastered compared to what they were working with, I guess, but it's a little more unrefined, I guess, than some of the more recent efforts. On the disc, we get the film in English and Italian, we get alternate openings with English and Italian credits, and we get 3 alternate trailers. And that's your lot, to be honest. Not a lot at all, which is weird because Shameless is usually really on it with the special features. Feels a little lazy, I guess. I don't know, maybe there just wasn't much supplementary stuff around this film. I don't know. Okay, time for the case. Shameless are carrying on the trend of the black slip covers. This time with very suggestive artwork on it, and we also get 2 alternate artworks as we usually do, which are fine. They suit the film anyway. They're not blowing my mind or anything, but they're not too bad. The blurb on the back really oversells every aspect of this film, makes it actually sound quite competent, but I guess all the information's correct, if not slightly embellished here and there. Once again, I opted for one of the early pre-orders, one of the low numbered versions, and I got number 0027. This is now the lowest number that I own of any of these Shameless Blu Rays, beating out The Nurse, which was originally the lowest. Why is it always the films that I don't like that I get the really low numbered versions of? I guess it's because when they announce it, most people are go, nah, I'm not fussed, whereas I'm like, yeah, gotta get it for a review. So, nah. One last thing before we move on as well, and this is a bit of a strange one. So, every release in the Shameless collection, DVD or Blu-ray, has come in a yellow case. It's kind of the defining thing about Shameless, especially when you're shopping. You see that yellow case on the shelf, you know you're getting a Shameless product. So, all the stuff has come in a yellow case. The Blu-ray ones as well were even bespoke with a little Shameless logo embossed on the top. This one, however, comes in just a standard, slim, clear case with a generic Blu-ray logo on the top. You know, the sort of cases you can buy very cheap from Amazon or just anywhere, really. Now, if this is a new thing moving forward for Shameless, honestly, I hate it. I really don't like it. After having 25 Blu-rays with the yellow case and all those DVDs, having it taken away at this point just seems super cheap. The collection is the yellow box collection, or yellow aroma, or whatever they call it. Is the name going to change as well? Because the yellow case was sort of the defining thing for this collection. I don't know. First it was missing spine number 20, then they released things out of order, and now no yellow box. Now these things may seem minor in a vacuum, but I don't know, when you put them together it feels like they're cheapening out and there's a bit of a decline happening. But that might just be me, I don't know. As far as I see this, it is not good at all. Overall then, this was a boring and lifeless film that's too horny for its own good and doesn't really have any cannibalism in it. I would avoid this one, I wouldn't recommend it, probably best to avoid it. If you are in the market for this though, this version, as far as Shameless go, is not the best. It's not really got any special features on it, and obviously there's the problem with it not even fitting the branding and just having a clear case. I feel like they cheaped out a little bit on this one. Other alternatives that you've got are, there's a Severin DVD, which is for import, so you'd have to pay a bit extra for that, and I can't speak for the quality or the cut on that one. Don't know. Severin are usually pretty good though. Outside of that, there's not much. I guess you could always grab the Shameless DVD if you did want it. Might be a cheaper alternative. Again though, it might be cut. I'm not fully sure on what the DVD has to offer. So, bit of a disappointing one, this episode, but I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't for me. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. Who knows? If you loved it or hated it, do let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.